Russia's invasion of Ukraine has led to global soul-searching about the over-reliance on Russian oil and gas. But that's not the only commodity that the world is worried about. Russia also has diamonds. In fact, Russia is the world's largest supplier of small diamonds around the world. For years, engagement rings, earrings, necklaces, pendants, you name it, around the world have included diamonds that are mined from deep inside the permafrost in Russia's northeast. Now, the United States and other countries are taking action that could officially label Russian diamonds as conflict diamonds. They're basically claiming that the sale of these diamonds helps pay for Russia's deadly aggression in Ukraine. On Crux Decode, so what exactly are these conflict diamonds or blood diamonds? How are they identified? Who identifies them? And most importantly, is there truth to the allegation that Russia is using these conflict diamonds to fuel the war in Ukraine? Proceeds from the production of these blood diamonds are benefiting the same state which is conducting a premeditated and unprovoked war, says George Kajati. He's a U.S. State Department official. This was in a letter written in May to the chair of the Kimberley Process. Now, the Kimberley Process is an international organization created by the United Nations to prevent the flow of these conflict diamonds. The European Union, there's Canada, other Western nations, there's also Ukraine, as well as several other organizations have joined similar calls for a Kimberley Process. Conflict diamonds, also known as blood diamonds, are commonly thought of as gems that are sold to finance a war. The Kimberley Process was created in the wake of diamonds financing a deadly war in Sierra Leone. It defines them very specifically as rough diamonds used by rebel movements or their allies to finance a conflict so as to undermine legitimate governments. But rebel movement does not necessarily describe Russia, and it objects to labeling its diamonds as conflict gems. They call this the political demagoguery of the West. The issue is coming into sharper focus as Western countries, outraged by Russia's actions in Ukraine, restrict Russian oil and gas. They're also looking for long-term alternatives. Revenues from Russia's other big exports, like diamonds, have gained new global relevance, both for Russia as well as for countries that are looking to punish it. Now, the gems are one of Russia's top non-energy exports. It accounts for more than $4.5 billion of Russian exports as of last year. Russian diamonds for years have been popular with American jewelers who are wary of buying from African mines because they feel that consumers could confuse them for blood diamonds. But the debate over Russian diamonds is also exposing an often overlooked reality, that there is a very difficult attempt to try and rein in a murky $80 billion global diamond industry. Whether it's because of loopholes or technicalities, so-called ethical diamonds don't really exist, and the effort to block Russian diamonds underscores that fact. In fact, the Kimberley Process is used as some kind of a greenwashing machine, if you will. There's a leading diamond report that has come out last year where the price list that is used as a benchmark for wholesale trade in polished diamonds clearly shows that there isn't much of a price difference for whether it is rough, uncut diamonds from Russia or Africa or from Latin America. For Russia's part, its officials say that the country's diamonds are in line with environmental, social, and governance standards long before it became fashionable in the West. They say the Russian mines actually contribute in a desolate part of the country to building the economy there. It's an area called Yakutia. It would have otherwise been destitute, but today, because of the diamond industry, it is actually prosperous. Diamond proceeds have paved roads there, they've built schools and hospitals. The livelihoods of more than 1 million people of Yakutia fully depend on stability of the diamond mining region. That was a statement put out by the Russian Finance Ministry. But Ukrainian officials say that these diamonds are actually conflict diamonds and are in turn contributing to Russia's invasion. Russian diamonds are involved in the financing of the war of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, which makes these diamonds not just conflict, but bloody. Western officials have in fact lined up, besides the Ukrainians, on this very count. In fact, on the very day, back in February, when Russia announced the invasion or went to war with Ukraine, the United States added to its sanctions list Sergei Ivanov. He's the chief executive of Alrosa, which is Russia's biggest diamond producer. Mr. Ivanov is the son of one of the closest friends of President Vladimir Putin. He was also added to the sanctions list. Later, the United States banned the import of Russian diamonds, along with Russian vodka, caviar, and other items. But the US action had a major loophole. It only applied to Russian rough diamonds, which are basically gems that were dug out from the ground and yet to be cut, polished, or shined. And very few rough diamonds actually reach the US market from Russia. After being pulled out of the ground, most of these diamonds are shipped abroad for transformation, regardless of where they are mined, whether in Russia or in Africa. In fact, the vast majority of these diamonds end up in polishing centers in India. And India has no ban on Russian diamonds. Once the diamonds are transformed and readied for shipping, their origin changes. Diamonds mined in Russia are no longer Russian origin diamonds. They are labeled Indian origin. Boycotts of Russian diamonds were launched by major jewelers like Tiffany and De Beers, and they've also launched an effort to try and trace these gems through the local supply chains. In fact, the US escalated its action not long after, targeting the mining giant Alrosa, which is majority owned by the Russian government. It also added Alrosa to a US Treasury list that essentially bans American nationals from doing business with that company. Canada, the UK, and New Zealand have also taken similar action. But critics say that the ban has failed to close this loophole, and it's left open the possibility that Alrosa's subsidiaries could still find a way to get diamonds that are cut and polished into the US. And they also note that while the US is the biggest market for Russian diamonds, Alrosa can still sell diamonds freely in other major markets like China and India. Remember, these countries have not taken any action against Russian diamonds. The United States says that Russia generated more than $4.5 billion in revenue last year and is responsible for 90% of the diamond mining capacity that the country has. It was a hit for a country which played on the fears of consumers who were worried about tainted African diamonds. The debate over Russian diamonds reached the Kimberley process. They were scheduled to have a meeting back in early June. A movement was already afoot by the US as well as other Western countries to determine whether Russia was exporting conflict diamonds. Russia itself had been among the numerous nations that for several years had been pushing within the Kimberley process for an expansion of the definition of conflict diamonds. But because the organization is governed by consensus, all decisions must be unanimous amongst the 80 countries who are part of it. Therefore, the June meeting got stalled. Tensions over Russian diamonds split the Kimberley process across geopolitical lines. Numerous Western nations were pitted against Russia, which of course was backed by countries like China, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, Mali, as well as the Central African Republic. And remember, in these countries, Russia has a huge presence through its mercenaries like the Wagner Group, who operate in diamond mines. The Kimberley process now has less and less to do with diamonds and in a way has become another geostrategic theater. Net-net, Russia is getting away with it in yet another global forum outside of the purview of the United Nations.